Almost exactly 1 month from now, TikTok is facing a deadline to sell or be banned in the U.S. But the Supreme Court could change that. Today, the highest court decided it will hear arguments on the company's appeal to the ban. TikTok is arguing the ban violates its free speech rights under the First Amendment. Arguments are set to happen 9 days before the January 19th deadline. So what the heck does that mean? Now, we're joined by our 9 News legal analyst, Whitney Traylor, for more. So arguments happen right before the deadline. So what does that mean? Is there even a deadline?
Well, there is a deadline. So the law is set to go into effect January 19th. And so if nothing happens, then the ban is in effect. Whatever the Court of Appeals did will go into effect. But the court said, give us briefs by December 27th. And interestingly, they also asked for briefs from different businesses that would be impacted by TikTok. So to me, that tells me they're really looking at the business aspect of it and the impact that that may have.
Judging by what the speed of the court, is it likely or is it possible they could say, we're going to hold that deadline? We need more time to look at this, and we're just going to let that deadline, we're going to give you a month, 2 months, whatever, while we work on it.
I think they could stay it, but I think that would create so many issues, and I think that's why they actually said, hey, let's go on this expedited schedule. So December 27th, the briefs are due. January 10th is oral argument, and then it is possible that they issue an order before that January 19th deadline.
I think all the justices are at least over 50 years old, so they don't get their news from TikTok.
Right.
But a lot of people do. I mean, that's where really a lot of people under 50 are getting their news from TikTok. So they're following this case via TikTok.
Right, which is super interesting. And really the argument is that the government is concerned about the national security in two interesting ways. On the one hand is that this Chinese company, because ByteDance, who owns TikTok, is based in Beijing, they have this kind of civil-military agreement, so they share information. So the concern is that they would share information about us. But the second concern is that they'll also influence our views by what's being shown on TikTok. And for me, that's what's really interesting from the technological aspect, because I'm looking at that and I'm also looking at AI and how things are evolving there and what information is being, kind of pumped into the young people.
Well, I mean, the campaigns in this last election aggressively used TikTok to reach a different set of viewers. So I think sometimes when people look at, there's influencers and people that make money, but then I heard one of the lawmakers behind the initial, get rid of TikTok. He said, I think people need to understand we just want the company to sell.
Yeah.
We're not saying we want to get rid of TikTok.
That's
we just want you to sell the company.
Right.
And he said, so people are all wound up like we're just trying to get rid of it.
Yeah, and that is what they're asking. They're saying, and that's what the law is saying, sell it by January 19th, or, for example, Google or Apple, whoever plays it, could be fined $10,000 a day, I think, per user.
Yes, there's a lot of people.
So, yeah, and there was some interest. I think during the Trump administration, they had a few, there were some folks interested in purchasing, but this is a major, this would be a major thing, obviously a major sale now. But now President Trump's saying, or President-elect Trump saying, well, maybe they're not so bad. With all the business-oriented people he has heading the cabinet, I could see them trying to figure out a way, because I'm looking at the business aspect. And as you said, I mean, there's over 170 million users in the U.S. using TikTok.
When the court looks at national security and the commerce aspect of it, those are both huge issues. Does one carry weight more than the other, or do they both have to be met in a legal heading?
No, that's a great point, and that's actually the argument that TikTok made, was that yes, you could take into account national security, but the burden is on the government to show that this national security is outweighed by the First Amendment, because this is what we're talking about, First Amendment freedom of speech, and it's really TikTok saying, hey, you're denying all these people the opportunity to have their free speech.
There's a lot to follow. There's a lot still to come. We'll keep an eye on it. We appreciate you adding some insight. As always, Whitney Traylor, thanks.
Thanks.